Welcome back, Barbecue Pit. Let's just check my sound out real quick. UFC Fight Island 6. The Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega. Great main event. Brian Ortega is going to be returning after over 2 years layoff. Or no, a little under 2 year layoff. Maybe a year and 10 months or so. But he's been away for a while. We got starting out the card Thomas Almeida, who's also been gone since January 2018. So he's been a little over 2 years since he's fought. He's 21-3. He'll be fighting 12-3 Jonathan Martinez. All of Almeida's losses came recently. He's 1-3 since he lost to Garbrandt back in 2016. He has a decision loss to Jimmy Rivera. And then what was his most recent one? He just lost by TKO to Rob Font. Excuse me. 2 out of 3 of his losses via TKO or knockout. Brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu, black belt Muay Thai. Martinez is 12-3. Never been finished. 3-2 in the UFC. He's got a loss to Andre Sukunta and Andre Uel. Wins in his last fight against was a TKO over Frankie Sains. It was August 2020. All 5 of his UFC fights that he was signed were after the last fight that Almeida had in the UFC. So he's a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He's plus 122 underdog. I believe that they got it right there. He is well deserving of being an underdog. Thomas Almeida has a lot to prove coming back here, and he's got the striking to beat Martinez. And then I think where Martinez was more likely to win the fight was on the ground. He's probably like 2 steps below Almeida when it comes to jiu-jitsu, so I don't think that's going to happen either. But you never know. I got Thomas Almeida, though, probably by decision. Jimmy Crute versus Marescas Velasquez. Crute is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, 11-1. Only loss was a submission loss to Misha Serkinov, September 2019. He's 3-1 in the UFC, submitted Paul Craig, knocked out Sam Alvey, and his most recent fight was a submission win over Michelle Olajiskic. 8 out of 11 of his wins via finish, 4 submissions, 4 TKOs. Going up against Marescas Velasquez is 11-2, 1-0 in the UFC. He finished Andres Michales in July, his first fight in the UFC. He got 1 TKO loss, 1 submission loss. 10 out of 11 of his wins via finish, 7 TKOs, 3 submissions. So I think Crute has the advantage on the ground without a doubt. And I think standing, it's going to be tough to outstrike Jimmy Crute. Minus 385 favorite, I agree with that one. I'm going to go Jimmy Crute via submission. Caitlyn Chicadian, who just announced today that any one of her next fights could be her last fight. She contemplated her most recent fight being her last fight. She wants to settle down and start a family here soon. So her time could be coming to an end for MMA pretty soon. 14-3, never been submitted. She's only been knocked out once by Valentina Shevchenko for the title, February 2020. She has since beat her sister, Antonia Shevchenko, by decision. That was in May. 7-3 in the UFC. She's got wins over Jennifer Maia, Joanne Calderwood, Alexis Davis, Irene Aldana, and Lauren Murphy. She also has a win over Ciara Eubanks in Cage Fury Fighting Championships 52 in 2015. She's brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu under Renzo Gracie. Jessica Andrade is a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, 28, 11-6 in the UFC. Currently on a 2-fight losing streak, though. She lost her belt to Weili Zhang 1 fight after winning it against Rose. And then, of course, she lost that rematch to Rose Namajunas by split decision in July of this year. 14 out of 20 of her wins are via finish, 7 submissions, 7 knockouts. She is a minus 158 favorite, but she is 5'1 with a 62-inch reach going against Caitlyn Chicadian, who is 5'9 with a 68-inch reach. Now that's when people talk about size advantages, Caitlyn Chicadian versus Jessica Andrade is by far one of the biggest size advantages we have seen in the UFC. 8 inches of height, and we're looking at 6 inches of reach in a game where it could be a jiu-jitsu game, could be a jiu-jitsu fight, where I think Caitlyn Chicadian has the upper hand because they're both black belts, yet Chicadian is the longer fighter. And then it could be a stand-up fighter, could be a stand-up fight where Jessica Andrade has to land her power, which means she has to get inside on Caitlyn Chicadian, which is going to be very hard, seeing how much longer she is than Andrade. Almost even, but 120 plus 128 underdog is Chicadian. I would take that, and I would go Chicadian versus via decision. Cyril Gagne's back. He's fighting Ante Delija. Gagne 7-0 pro Muay Thai with 5 knockouts, 6-0 in MMA, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's 3-0 in the UFC, submission over Rafael Pessoa, and also Dante Mays, and then a decision win over Tanner Boser, December 2019. Delja is 17-3, the veteran. Will be making his UFC debut. Most recent loss was to Marcin Tybura via leg injury, 2015. His most recent win was a TKO over Ali Thompson at KSW 51, November 2019. So he's got a little bit of a layoff here too. You know, plus 410, I think is outrageous. I don't think I'm going to lay money on Delja. I think I'm going to go Cyril Gagne on this one. But plus 410 on a guy who has fuck ton more experience in MMA than Cyril Gagne. He's the same size. He's only lost the top level competition, Marcin Tybura, to be example. To be plus 410 is just fucking insane to me. If I got a couple bucks, I'll lay a couple bucks on him, but I'm gonna pick for my picks Cyril Gagne via submission. I think if he gets it to the ground, it's a really easy pick to pick Gagne. But the question is he going to be able to get it to the ground with a power striker like Delja? We will see on Saturday. That brings us to the main event. Brian Ortega, Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. Ortega's first fight since getting TKO'd via doctor stoppage against Max Holloway, December 2018. 14-1-1 is his record. 6-1-1 in the UFC. His debut in the UFC, he tested hot and got popped by USADA, which is why he has that no contest in his record. He has wins over Diego Brandao, Clay Guida, Renato Moicano, Cub Swanson, and Frankie Edgar to bring him to where he is. 7 out of 14 of his wins via submission. He's a first-degree black belt under Henry Gracie, who won't be in his corner because he tested positive for COVID. He didn't even make the trip to Abu Dhabi. He's going against Korean Zombie, who's 16-5. Sorry, never been submitted. He's only been knocked out 3 times. He's on a 2-fight winning streak at the moment over Renato Moicano and Frankie Edgar. He was supposed to fight Ortega in December when he fought Edgar. Ortega had an injury. They're running it back now. 6-2 in the UFC, 2 losses, both by TKO. Yair Rodriguez, which he was winning that fight all up until the last second, every single round, and then got knocked out in the last second of the 5th round. And then Jose Aldo, which at the time was the king of the featherweight division, can't knock that loss at all. Other than the Frankie Edgar and Renato Moicano wins, he also has wins over Dustin Poirier and Leonard Garcia, where he pulled off that very impressive twister victory. So I'm going to go Korean Zombie, man. I think Korean Zombie's got the advantage standing. I think on the ground it's a little bit more even, but I'm going to still give it to Korean Zombie just because he's never been submitted. And that's what Ortega, I believe, has to win the fight by submitting the Korean Zombie. I don't think that's going to happen. So Korean Zombie, I'm going to go on that one. We also have Matsuki Garmat versus Garam Kudasi. Jillian Robinson versus Paulina Bontello. Claudio Silva versus Jane Krause. John Phillips versus Jun Young Park. Jamie Malarkey versus Faris Zaim. Gadzumurad Antigulov versus Maxim Grisham. And Mark Striegel versus Sad Nurmagomedov. Monair Lazez was supposed to come on the card and fight David Zavada, but Lazez, I think, either had COVID or got an injury. Something happened. He fell out of that fight. They're looking for replacements, but today is Tuesday. The fights are on Saturday, so I'd say by tomorrow morning, if he doesn't have a replacement for Zabata, the fight won't be happening this week. Possibly move him to next week's card or the week after that's card in Fight Island just because he's there. But if there's no news by tomorrow, I don't think we see David Zabata fight on this card. Let's see what's next in the eyes of the UFC. I think it's the pay-per-view. I think it's what would that be? 254, 255 maybe. 254. Khabib Gaethje is next week. Meet us here next Tuesday. We will be discussing the picks, sneak preview. I got Khabib. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with Khabib here, man. I'll look into it more when it comes closer to Tuesday, but that's my early pick. I don't think Khabib loses in his entire reign in the UFC. I think he only fights a couple more times, but I think he's going to go out undefeated. The Floyd Mayweather of the UFC. But anyway, until next time, stay sunny, Philadelphia, all that shit, and barbecue some shit this weekend for me. We will see you on Tuesday, guys.